Okay. Let's talk about this new arm pumping method. So first, just a basic rundown. Arm pumping moves Samus forward 1 pixel every time you do it, right? An arm pump is considered any pose change. So an angle up, an angle down, a shot out of a running animation. Okay. Or yeah, it will be. Don't worry about it. A shot out of a running animation, or I think there's one other thing. I think after landing you get a pose change. So like this, you get a pose change, and that counts as an arm pump. Arm pump, right? Anyway, traditionally, what people will do to arm pump is they will spam angle up and down on their shoulder buttons like this, right? And right now I have the practice ROM set up with the arm pump tool, which I'll show right here. Arm pump. Current mode is arm pump. And what that does is it makes it so that when you are arm pumping, those numbers in the top left, 22 and 2, 21 and 2, 24 and 1, they update telling you how many arm pumps you did in a 1 second period. That's the left number, and then the right number is how many of them were overlapping. And an overlapping arm pump is where you are holding angle up and then push angle down, for example, like this. Okay, while you're still. So, okay, how do I explain this? Angle up is an arm pump. Going from angle up to neutral is also an arm pump. If you go from angle up to angle down without going to neutral, you're getting 1 pose change instead of 2, which would be going from angle up to neutral to angle down, right? So the second number, like I said, is overlaps, and that means that essentially you're missing out on an arm pump. Okay. All right. So there is a new method of arm pumping. It's only useful in a few rooms, but it's extremely powerful. The idea itself isn't new necessarily. People have done it in other games like Link to the Past with hovering, but doing it in this game on an R button, for example, on a Super NES controller is new. And the person who first did it and showed it off is Zohdin. That's Zohdin. I'm going to put that in chat. Zohdin. And you can't see it on screen because of that. Okay, there it is. I'll just resize this later. Okay. And so I'm calling them Zohdin pumps, and that's what most people that I've seen refer to them have been doing as well, because he deserves credit for it, because it was his idea. I have another command here. Zohdin pumps. All right. So Zohdin pumping is where you run your fingernails across the R button, kind of like a guitar string, to trigger inputs faster than you can with a single finger. My record for Zohdin pumping is 51 out of 60 possible pumps in a second. And that means that left number that you see up there said 51 at the end of a 1 second interval when it updated. And I have a clip of that. So pretty cool. So if I mash as fast as I can, which I'm not very good at this, but let's just be clear. If I mash as fast as I can on L and R, see how I'm getting like 20, 22, 23, 24. Go faster as any, 26. Come on, man. Come on. Like, can't go super fast, right? Oats can arm pump much better than I can on L and R. if I remember correctly, he can go about 30% faster than I can. So where I can get like 20 to 25, he can get like 30 to 40, kind of a deal, which is really impressive. Okay, so what does running your fingernails across the R button, kind of like a guitar string, mean? What that means is you take your fingernails, okay? You put them together like this. You can kind of brace. Sorry, I'm having trouble with this. I should turn my other lights on too. Let's turn some brightness up. You guys can see better. Where's my fingers? Okay. So you can kind of put them together with your thumb. Like this. Okay. So I brace my fingers between my thumb and then I curl my pinky down to kind of act as the other side support. And then what you do is you put them on the R button like this, okay? And you just slide them across. Now you can either do this like pointed, like this, okay? Or you can do it more like on like this top part of your fingernail. I've done it both ways. I've had really good success doing it both ways. But the one thing that I will say is if you do it too much or too hard on the edge of your fingernails, like on the edge, right? They will wear down because you're scraping them across hard plastic. So, you know, it's literally like a less effective like nail file. So they will wear down. I haven't had any issues doing that on the top. So typically I will I'll try and focus on getting a good rhythm going along the top of the fingernails. Okay, so just as a demonstration again, if I, you know, I'm mashing L and R as fast as I can, back and forth, we're getting, you know, 20 to 25 with some overlaps. So 3 overlaps, 1 overlap, 4 overlaps, 1 overlap, 2 overlaps, right? So we're missing out on some pumps there because of that. If you're only going on just the R button, see how that second number is staying at 0? That's because we're not getting any overlaps. But clearly, I'm having trouble getting as many pumps on just the R button as I was on L and R, because it's harder to push one button with one finger as fast as you could push 2 buttons with 2 fingers, even if you're having to deal with overlaps and stuff. If I Zohdin pump, so for how do I explain this? Okay, depending on the room, I'll change how I Zohdin pump. I'll change the grip that I'm using to Zohdin pump. If it's a room where I don't need to hold dash the whole time, what I'll do is I'll hold dash until Samus has max run speed. And then what I'll do is I'll let go of dash. Okay, I'll let go of the right side of the controller completely with my right hand. And then I'll move the controller and I'll brace it against my chest, which you can't see, so I'll move this up. See, I'm bracing it against my chest. Okay. And then I Zohdin pump from there. And you can see, even though it's not that much faster than mashing on L and R, we were getting 0 overlaps, and it was still faster. I'm in a little trouble here. There we go. Okay, so there's a 37, right? The other thing about Zohdin pumps is you don't need to go as fast as you possibly can. It doesn't have to be this strenuous thing that you're doing to your hand or to your arm. The first day that I was doing it and learning how to do it, I did it for hours, and I was pushing like really hard, trying to go as fast as I could, trying to get like BT skip level arm pumping going on. And my shoulder and my bicep and my tricep and stuff were kind of sore the next day. But you don't have to be super hard about it. You don't have to put a lot of force behind it. It's more about a rhythm than it is about a really fast speed. So the next thing I'm gonna show is when you're doing this in series, you need to be holding dash and pushing the D-pad to move Samus while you're Zohdin pumping, which, I mean, how do you hold dash and manipulate, Samus on the D-pad with your with just your left hand if you're holding it normally, like this? I mean, I can't reach over and push dash and push the D-pad at the same time. So what I do for the series rooms is I put the controller down on my leg sideways like this. I hold dash with my thumb, and I hold left with my middle finger. Okay. That seems really weird, and I get that, but it's really not that hard to control when it's just a straight room. You're just anchoring your thumb on A and pushing left with your middle finger, and then releasing left and repressing it to accommodate for the door opening. Again, this is in series, not in the wreck ship hallway like we're at right now. But the nice thing about those rooms is you have a more stabilized controller, right? And so, as opposed to when you're holding it like this and trying to Zohdin pump like this, which again is, 32 is pretty good, 27 is better than mashing back and forth, 31, etc. Like that's good, but if you have a more stable surface area to kind of press the controller against, you can focus entirely on not just keeping the controller in place like when you're holding it up against your chest, but you can put more focus into the rhythm and kind of how the button feels under your fingernails, so you can adjust and whatever. See, there's a 40, 35, 38, 34, 38, 30, 36, 39, 41. So that's quite a bit better than the alternating pumps. It's like almost double. So again, you brace the controller on your leg, right? You hold dash with your thumb. You hold left on the D-pad with your middle finger. You take your 3 fingers. You can also do it with 2. You can do it with 2 fingers. I've had very comparable amounts of arm pumps in a 1 second period with 2 and 3 fingers. 3 is objectively better because you don't have to swipe back and forth as fast to get the same result. But 2 is a little more comfortable for me depending on the day and the situation and stuff. So try both 2 and 3. So can you do Snick's BT skip doing this? It is theoretically possible, but I haven't managed to do it. The closest I've gotten was four mist pumps. Basically four pixels short of being able to do it. So, yeah, I'm going to, Matthew. I'm gonna make this a YouTube video. So, so again, we're bracing the controller on our leg. You take your 3 fingers or your 2 fingers, you put them on the button, and then you just run them back and forth along the button. And I'm not going that fast. I'm not going that fast at all. And we're easily matching or surpassing what we would get with mashing on L and R. Okay. To kind of give a reference for how fast I'm going, how can I do this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So every time I counted, I was going down. So down, up, right? What BPM is that? That's like, I don't know, 250? I have a metronome here. Metronome. Let's try and match 250 and see what that gets us. See, so I'm just very casually running my 3 fingers across the button. Every downward swipe being at about 250 BPM, and we were getting around 30 pumps a second, okay? Which again is more than I can do mashing on L and R. So if we move that up to, we'll say 300. We're having a little trouble because what's happening there, and the reason that we're getting less pumps, is because the button is staying pressed down because I'm pressing with the wrong amount of pressure, which is actually, I'm glad that this is coming up, because again, you can push hard on the button, but you don't have to. It's more about rhythm than it is about pressure or speed. So if you can just lightly, see, there is a 38. If you can just lightly keep your fingers running across the button so that it's just lightly pressing and making contact, generally that's going to give better results. The other thing is it's less strenuous on your hand and on your arm. So yeah, so that's another thing, Twinkie, is you have to find a good way to reverse your direction. That's the hardest part, is not missing frames when you're reversing your direction, and that's why BT skip is so impossible. Again, it's theoretically possible, but I haven't managed to do it. So let's try 300 again, and I'll see if I can get a good pressure going here. I'm going to adjust the controller a little bit. There we go. Okay. The other thing is you want to press in kind of the middle of the button. You can press on the inner side of the button, but if you do, you need to press a little harder. And if you press on the outside of the button, you're going to get worse results. So you want to be somewhere kind of in the middle of the button when you're doing this. So this is around the middle of the button. Now I'm going to move to the inside of the button. See how it kind of dipped there? If I push harder and go a little faster, we can still get pretty good results on the inside of the button. But it's not anywhere near as good or as easy as, again, as the middle of the button. There's a 43, 44, 42. If we do the outside of the button, it can work, but it's less consistent. So you saw we dropped from like 36 to 20, down to 16, up to 38. And that's just because the outside of the button is interacting with the rubber switch inside differently than the middle of the button, which is very, very consistent in comparison. Anyway, that is Zohdin pumping in a nutshell. Does anybody have any questions before I wrap this up? I don't know if you're still here, Gebu, but I hope this was informative and helpful for you. And if not, then you can see it on YouTube. Any questions? Going once. Going twice. You would assume it wouldn't be comfy over time. So the longer you do it, like if you're sitting here doing this for an hour, you will get kind of tired. But if you're just doing it in series, and for me, I do it in pre-speed hallway in a run. That's when I hold the controller up to my chest and do it that way. And if you're running PRKD, you'd want to do it in wrecked ship hallway. Which, let me show you why. Okay, so here's a normal, that's a 317 room. This is, you know, me pumping like I normally would, 314, 316. If you Zohdin pump the hallway instead, again, we're gonna hold right with our middle finger and dash with our thumb. You'll need to time a shot too. So doing it badly, I saved about 5 frames. My record in the wrecked ship hallway is a 259. Here's a 312. 310. So it's worth doing there too. You gotta find a rhythm and a good way to time your shot and stuff. But it's definitely worth doing there as well. So anyway, there are only a few rooms. What I was getting at is there are only a few rooms that you're going to be doing it per run. So even if you're just grinding series itself, the time that it takes for you to reset and get back and have Ridley damage you down is enough to kind of recuperate before you do your next set of pumps, right? And you're only doing the pumps for 2 rooms, so you're not doing them for a prolonged period of time, so it's not really enough to get tired. So again, unless you're like really grinding the pumps, like trying to do BT skip for an hour or practicing the first 2 series rooms for an hour or whatever, the stress that it puts on your arm and on your hand, as long as you're not pushing hard or trying to go really fast, is almost non-existent. Because again, it's more about a rhythm. There's a 41. I'm not trying to go fast right now. It's more about a rhythm than it is about a speed. So if I go as fast as I can, we're actually getting worse results. Okay. Yeah, 60 is max. 60 is max. But anyway, I get better results just with a good rhythm than I do trying to go as fast as I can. Now, that being said, theoretically, if you're hitting the button twice on each swipe, if you want frame perfect 60 hertz arm pumps, that would be 450 BPM, if I remember correctly, which is that fast. So again, it's not even as good. Like that's how fast you'd have to be going if you're hitting the button twice on each swipe to do BT skip. But if we're not trying to do BT skip, if we're just trying to get some good pumps in, for a good series hallway or whatever, rhythm is much more important than raw speed. So, all right. Any other questions before I wrap this up? Thanks for hanging out with me today, guys. I appreciate it. Nope, modified controllers are legal for speedruns. I disagree with that decision, but it wasn't my decision to make, so. All right. Thanks, guys.